Black Tech Green Money, Will Lucas here. So excited to be back. And I have a special guest today, Jordan Weaver, founder and CEO of Forefront, an Atlanta-based startup that's on a mission to bring Black brands to the forefront, literally, by connecting them with influencers who promote their products to millions on social media. He's also a 2024 Black Ambition HBCU Grand Prize winner, $50,000. Welcome, Jordan.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I want to start this off, and I want to provide in this interview like a lot of value for both Black-owned brands and Black creatives, if you can help me out with that.
Absolutely.
So let's start with creators. So how can emerging creators, people who don't have 1 million followers yet, but they're talented perhaps, or they think they're talented, how can they start earning money from their content? Like, what are the best ways to start doing this, even if you just have a small following?
I think the best way to begin to monetize your content, your audience as a smaller creator is through UGC collabs. So that's user-generated content. And that's essentially when a brand is paying you to have access to content that you create. So it's not something they're paying you to get access to your audience or to post in front of your audience. They're just saying, hey, you create quality videos. We want you to create some videos of you using our product. We're going to take full license of that content and share that with our audience, share that through our marketing ads and things of that nature. I think that's a great way for creators to start because it kind of helps you to boost your rapport, boost your portfolio, but it also allows you to really get that practice in without having to lean so heavily on your audience. So as you're still working to build your audience, you still have the ability to monetize, let's say, even if you only have a couple hundred followers. So user-generated content is definitely something that I want to see a lot more creators leverage as they're working to build their audience. So that's one of the main ways, but also just getting started with gifted campaigns. I know a lot of times people hear the word gifted, free. Nobody really wants to work for free, but especially if you're a creator, just trying to get your foot in the door, gifted campaigns are a great way for you to boost your rapport with that brand, so that they're comfortable to begin paying you. So they can kind of see what your work looks like, how good you guys work together, and then maybe the next collaboration, they see just the value you were able to bring to that brand and that campaign, and now they want to pay you. So I would say UGC, but also not being afraid to run from those gifted campaigns in the beginning.
Yeah, and you get free shea butter.
Yeah. I love a free product.
And so when a brand is looking for somebody that doesn't have a huge following yet, but they're looking for somebody to, take their content and collab on that content or take that content and publish it directly on their platforms, what are they typically looking for? So because this person doesn't have like 1 million followers yet. So what is it that they're looking for in these smaller creatives that says that's the person who, I like what they do?
So it's actually crazy that nowadays a lot more brands, whether they're larger brands or smaller brands, they're actually looking for more micro creators. And that's because they have a lot more engagement. They have a higher engagement rate versus somebody who has millions of followers. They may have the follower count, but they might not have the ability to convert or have high conversion rates. So I think that's one of the biggest things that brands are looking for is, okay, if I invest in you as an influencer to promote and create content for my brand, what is the ROI going to be? Because ultimately, that's what the brands are looking for. Even if it takes a longer time to see that ROI, brands want to see that investment in that creator was worth it. So outside of just follower count, it really does have to do with engagement. But also a lot of brands are wanting to really work with creators that align with their brands. They're no longer just here to throw money at content creators just because they're cute and have a lot of followers. Like, no, I want to make sure that you align with my brand. How do you connect with the consumers that we're trying to reach? And so brands are really they want to make sure that there's alignment, because ultimately when I go back to the ROI, they're wanting to see how long can we work with this creator? How long can we, establish this partnership? So it's not just a one and done type of partnership. And so I think, again, with these micro creators, they have the ability to really connect with these brands, especially if you're an emerging up and coming creator, for example, who's creating content about locks, right? You have a large community that you're beginning to grow that also, come to you for style tips or, ways to really take care of your locks. You're building a community within your audience that brands really value and they want to pay you for, because obviously that audience is really who they're looking to target as well. So ultimately, outside of follower count, I think it's all about engagement, product alignment, again, because it's a partnership. It can't just be a one-off type of thing. Brands really want to see who they can begin a partnership with for the long run.
Define UGC for me.
So UGC is user-generated content. And so a lot of times people merge influencer partnerships with UGC. They're similar, but they're different. So you can be an influencer with a whole bunch of followers that a brand is bringing you in on for UGC campaign. So again, what a UGC campaign is really when a brand is paying you to get access and rights to your content. So let's say, for example, I'm a large creator, I have millions of followers, but a brand may not be able to afford my rate to get in front of my followers. They could possibly pay my UGC rate where I can create some content about their products, whether my face is in it or not, and get access to that content. So it's really a way for brands to get quality content about their products or with their products without having to go and create that. Because obviously being an emerging brand, being a team of one or two, creating content is the last thing that you want to do unless you just enjoy it. So UGC is a way for a brand to hire a content creator who understands what it takes to create quality, just convertible content, and be able to invest in that as a way to use that on their social media pages, to use that as a running ad, to use that on their Amazon storefront to kind of show how the product works, what are the benefits of the product. So UGC is not just a way to kind of demonstrate the product, but also allow your audience to learn about your product, to learn about your brand and why they should be buying it.
So if I'm developing content just because I love to develop content, and that brand sees something in my feed that they say, I want that, I'm assuming that's it versus, and you can clarify if I have this wrong, versus them sending me a script and saying, we want you to do this.
Yeah, it could still be a little bit of both, where the brand has a criteria of what they're looking for. But a lot of times there might be a content creator that they see that aligns in their industry or what have you, and they want to pay that creator. So sometimes the brand can give that creator full access to create on their own terms, which creators really love, as well as kind of give them, limitations. It's kind of what we're looking for. So the brand still has some type of free range, but it really comes down to, okay, we're going to get full rights to this content, so we own it and we can use it as needed, versus, hey, we're going to pay you to post a video on behalf of our brand about our product to your audience, and you leave it up for about 6 months or 2 weeks, however long you guys negotiate, and it's off their page. So essentially UGC just allows that brand to get that right to that content and use it as needed.
So we have a good landscape that you've set for the opportunity for creators and for brands. Talk about where Forefront sits in this whole ecosystem.
Yeah, so I started Forefront just because I saw a huge gap in the market for Black-owned brands and content creators. So I started Forefront just really for my love for Black-owned businesses and supporting and championing those businesses, and just really seeing that there was a huge opportunity within the influencer marketplace for BIPOC creators to use their platforms and their influence to support and uplift Black-owned brands. And so that's really how Forefront was birthed, just really looking at the Black landscape as well as the creator economy and seeing a huge gap in the market where a lot of influencer marketplaces were not catering to these small and minority-owned businesses. So when you go onto a lot of our competitors' platforms, you don't see creators that identify or look like the consumers that they're looking for or the consumers that they're already targeting. So what Forefront does is makes it easy for these BIPOC and these emerging brands to be able to connect and find content creators that look like them, that connect with their audience, but also really can create content that's authentic to who the brand is, versus them getting on these platforms, finding a content creator who just does not look like them, does not align with their brand's mission, just their culture. And so that's really what Forefront is here to do, make it easier for emerging brands to be able to play in this field of influencer marketing, which is approaching $500 billion in the next few years, and giving them an opportunity to earn, thrive, and shine in this market as well. But also on the creator side, just on that same token, just there's a lack of representation. So when they get onto these marketplaces, they're not seeing a lot of brands or products that align with them. right? So what Forefront is here to do is just connect these creators who are looking for opportunities to monetize their audience, but also connect with brands that care about them, that value them, that look like them, and also for the brands, making sure that they're able to find creators that can help them to boost their visibility and their sales online, all within one.
So for those brands that have the revenue to do paid, but they just want to do gifted, and I'm a creator, how should I think about those opportunities?
From a creator standpoint,
From
or
a creative standpoint.
okay, I would say as
You
much
want to
as
send me all this stuff, but I know you can run me a check.
yeah. Well, I would say take some of those products, show them what you're capable of, even if you don't want to post it. Send them a message like, "Hey, this is what I was able to create. If you want access or rights to this content, this is my rates. And if not, I appreciate I appreciate the gifts." But I think that's a great way to start. And even if they don't want to, accept it right then and there, continue to show them what you're capable of. But like I said, I would not shy away, depending on where you are on your creator journey. I wouldn't shy away from those gifted opportunities because you just never know where that could lead. I get a lot of brands who reach out to me personally who say, this is no strings attached. We just want to get your feedback on the product, whether you post it or not. And so that's a great opportunity for myself as an emerging creator to say, hey, I actually really enjoyed this product. I would love to create some content. What is your budget like? So it's really just an opportunity for brands to explore opportunities with creators as well. It's not just that they're looking for free content, but they're also looking for relationships and partnerships. So it's really a matter of how you want to maneuver through that. But I would definitely say take advantage of that opportunity, create some content if that's something that you feel would be useful, or if it's a brand that you would desire to work with in the future, and use that as an opportunity, as a stepping stone to get to a paid partnership.
So Jordan, as a founder, CEO, you're getting ready for your day, you're getting ready to leave the house, the apartment. What is in your EBC, your everyday carry? What are those things that you have to have on you, close by, within arm's reach as you go throughout your days?
One, my laptop. I don't go anywhere without my laptop. I think my entire life is on this laptop. I think it's on
What kind of laptop you got?
I have a MacBook Air. Yeah, I might need a new one soon. I've had this for a few years, but we're going steady. I'm still a little bit old school when it comes to like my note takers. Like I have 2 journals. I have a personal journal for just like, when I'm watching sermons or just my everyday just journaling. But also I have a notebook for just my to-dos and my tasks and my notes for throughout the day. So
Are these like any kind of journals, or like Moleskines, or it doesn't matter what kind of brand it is?
Any kind really, but yeah, I have 2. They're just, regular notebooks. I just like to write my stuff down and cross it off. So those are my everyday. I don't know if this helps, but my topical lip gloss, that's my everyday. I need that to get through the day. If I leave it at home, I'm like just not okay mentally. Give my lips a little chap, but those are a couple of things that are like constantly with me each day.
Talk about, I talked to a few creators recently. DeMarcus Sean has been on recently, Marsha Robinson is on recently, and they talked a lot about like their daily routines and how they treat this like a job. Can you talk about those routines or the habits or lifestyle choices that successful creators have that you found unsuccessful ones, or ones that are struggling, don't have?
Yeah, I think one, just really getting in the mindset of creating content as a career. So when you think of LeBron James or any professional athlete, what they do on each and everyday basis is go out and practice, go out, shoot some threes, whatever the case is. I think treating your craft as a content creator just the same, where you're getting up and practicing your craft, improving your craft, whether you have a brand deal or not. If you're going out and let's say you're going to Sephora and trying out some new beauty products, create some content. Don't wait for a brand to come to you with a brand deal or with a check to say you're going to create some content. I think that repetition is key. That's how you're going to improve your craft, because it's definitely a craft, right? There's, art and a science to creating content. And I think the more you're out creating content, getting feedback from brands, getting feedback from your audience is when you're going to really learn what sticks and what's going to work. So whether you're a larger creator or a smaller creator, I think just getting out, creating content as much as possible, not just for the sake of views, but to really learn your craft, to really learn what your audience likes and cares for. But I think that just really allows you to get as much insight. So when brands do come to you, you have that insight. They know exactly what you're good at, what you're valuable with, and going from there. So I think just having that repetition, just getting in the mindset each and every day, going to create some content, or you're learning from other content creators. So you're not just in the business of scrolling on Instagram to, you know, for entertainment, but you're learning new tips and tricks and things of that nature. So I think those are what separates, the best emerging content creators versus the ones who are not really doing so well. They haven't really made that switch of, this is my career, this is something I really want to truly pursue full time.
You talked a lot about how creators can, when especially like they're getting gifted, campaigns, how they can communicate value. Can you talk about like some tactical ways, especially if you have limited metrics, your numbers aren't super huge yet? How can you communicate your value to a brand?
I think ultimately, and this is something that we are being very intentional with on Forefront, is really just talking about how you are to use that product, or how that product or that brand fits into your everyday life. Because again, I'm sure a lot of these brands, especially your favorite brands, they're getting a lot of creators pitching them. They're getting a lot of agencies pitching them. But if you can be very unique as to, one, I already use this product, I love this product, and this is why, and then you can showcase and demonstrate how you can incorporate that into your content, that's going to be very valuable for brands. One of my favorite content creators, I can't even think of her name. I think it's Chrissy, but she creates all the funny content with her husband, and she's just goofy, like just silly. And so like she does a lot of content creation or brand partnerships with like these imitation cakes and things of that nature. And I just love it because it fits so well with her content. She's goofy, she's silly, she's just like never serious. And so a lot of these unorthodox brands can come to her and they see themselves in her content, and there's alignment. So I think from a creator standpoint, just really being able to not try to pitch every single brand, not trying to go after every single partnership, but being very strategic on who are you as a person, what interests do you have, what is your influence, what are you using your influence for, and how can that brand fall into place with that. So it's never just about, okay, I have a follower count, let me just pitch every single brand. I have locks, let me go and work with 10 different lock brands to, people still want to have that trust. So they want to see, okay, which lock brand do you really like? Which one do you really invest your money in, and things of that nature. So I think just being very strategic on who you pitch and why, and knowing exactly why you want to work with that brand and why that product aligns with who you are as a person, who you are as a creator, and your audience. So I think ultimately just having that alignment.
I found this quote from you. I don't know how old it was, but maybe there's a change in how the app works now. But you said, we're different from other marketplaces for Black businesses because we're not a marketplace. We are a social shopping app that lets you follow your friends and top brands and stay updated on your favorite products. Can you talk more about this and how it fits into the landscape of what you're doing today?
Yeah, so that probably was a little bit older. We're not so much of a social commerce, like that's kind of how we started in like the social commerce place. It was really back in the pandemic, when I think really before TikTok really became what it is now. But we just wanted to see, again, just seeing more people shop and support Black-owned businesses. How can we get them at the forefront? And so I had this idea of Forefront being the social shopping platform where, as you're shopping and discovering Black-owned brands, you can bring your friends along that journey. And even though we've kind of pivoted from that, we still have a similar sentiment on that. It's just like, how can we as consumers, whether you're a content creator or not, how can we use our influence to continue to uplift and champion Black-owned businesses? And so at the core of what Forefront is, that's what we're all about. Our vision, our mission is to bring Black businesses to the forefront of the world. And what that means to us is our Black-owned businesses becoming the next generation of household names. So how can we do that? And looking at the current landscape of social media and content creation, and how content creators really play a huge role in that. A lot of the brands that we discover today, before we go and make a purchase, before we decide to purchase a product, we're looking at what other people are saying about this. And so my thought process of what Forefront is today is like, these influencers, they have huge influence, and we want to help them to be able to use that for the betterment of our community, for Black owned businesses, etc. So that's really kind of the starting point of what Forefront is. But ultimately, we learned a lot from starting there, and we just realized a lot of brands just wanted to connect with creators and vice versa. And so that's how we pivoted to being the first influencer in UGC marketplace for emerging BIPOC brands and creators.
Yeah, I mean, it's no secret that we're having a big national conversation about, these big retailers like Target, who is, under protest, economic protest from many in our community at this point. And my only, concern about that is like, where do we go next? So while we have energy against, what is the energy for? And I hear more energy about the against, we don't want to shop here, versus energy for, here's where we're going to shop. So I would love to hear your take on this whole landscape.
I love that you said that because you're really speaking my language. When all this stuff was happening earlier this year, I was kind of a little bit frustrated because, as someone who always has been about this life of supporting Black owned businesses before it's trendy or before something happens within, Target, or, a Black man or woman gets murdered, like, I've always been about this life. I still am, especially living in Atlanta. It's pretty easy. I can just get up, wake up, go to a coffee shop, Black owned, things of that nature. So it's a lot easier for me. And I understand that not everyone has that mindset to shop Black first. So when that entire thing happened, I was a little frustrated because I'm like, why are we only talking about this when stuff like this happens? We should always be supporting Black owned businesses. But to your point, like, why are we talking so much more about boycotting Target and not just supporting Black owned businesses? Like, that should be, in my mind, that should be just the topic of conversation. And I would love for it to be, more normal, right? Yeah. But ultimately, my initial thought process, I wasn't against the boycott, but I was not completely for it, because in my mind, I'm thinking about the Black owned businesses that I always go to Target to support and how they were going to be affected by this boycott. So that was my initial thought. I'm like, okay, why are we boycotting? Like, I get why we are, but also, like, can we be a little strategic with it and still find a way to support and champion the Black owned businesses who are going to be most affected by this boycott, and understanding just the land of just retail partnerships and things of that nature, why them being on these shelves is so impactful for these brands. But also, I had to realize from the grand scheme of things, and then seeing some of these brands, get on board and say, like, hey, continue to boycott Target. Like, we'll figure this out. We're going to survive. And I think ultimately we do have to think bigger as a community, whether we're talking about boycotting or supporting Black owned businesses, and really having to sit down and think about how are we as a community going to benefit the most. So to your point, I think besides just saying boycott Target, boycott Amazon, we should be highlighting where are we shopping, how we're going to shop. And a lot of people were taking that stance of like, let's just support them on their websites. But again, if we're only going to do that for the first couple of weeks while it's trendy, it does no good for anybody. So I think even with Forefront, and our goal is to continue the conversation, to continue to keep these brands at the forefront of consumers, of our timeline. So regardless of if something's trendy or not, somebody is being boycotted or not, we're still in the mindset of supporting these Black owned businesses 365, 24/7.
Yeah, and kind of along that line, like, I think a lot about ownership, and we're too often, in my view, reliant on somebody else's thing to make our stuff go.
Yeah.
And so that leads me into this question because we talked a lot about creators here, and how can we use our platforms, our 1,000, 10,000, 20,000 followers, million followers, to launch our own products and services? So instead of just relying on these brands to give us deals, how do you encourage creators? You should be thinking about your own stuff too.
Yeah, I think that's so important. Like, you're seeing a lot more creators nowadays leverage their influence. Like, hey, I sold millions of products, millions of dollars in products. Now I want to create my own. I love to see Jackie Aina. She did something very similar. She launched a candle line and a perfume line. And, I think is needed, right? Because brand deals aren't going to always be there, especially even for some of the larger creators who, they're seeing a lot of these brands are going towards some of these smaller creators because they're cheaper and they're a little bit more Valuable in terms of engagement. And so I think it's so important because, again, if you can sell somebody else's product, you can sell your own, especially if it's your product that aligns with who you are and why your audience supports you. I think it's kind of a no-brainer, and that's a way for you to continue to leverage your influence for your own good. You don't have to rely on brand partnerships coming in or out. You know, regardless, you're going to be good because you have this one product that already resonates with you and your audience, and they trust you because of your influence already. So I think I would love to see more creators leveraging that. And I don't think you have to be a larger creator to do that. You don't have to have, millions of followers, and it doesn't have to be, to the extreme. It doesn't have to be a CPG product. It could be an ebook, just starting from there and continuing to leverage your platform, how it aligns with your audience. So it could be educational, it could be a plethora of things. I think just finding what aligns with you, what you're good at, learning what your audience comes to you for. Why do they go and view your content? Why do they follow you? A lot of those things will tell you the type of products that you can launch to continue to have that revenue coming in as a content creator, despite, brand deals or not.
I was paying attention to this streaming university that Kai Cenat had
I
going
love
on
that.
recently.
Legendary.
Yeah, and I think about this idea of collectives and cooperatives, and many of us have also not heard of these influencer houses, to where you go and you live there and you create content with each other.
Mhm.
And like, what are some of the benefits can you speak to of creating these collectives and cooperatives to enhance, both awareness and earning potential?
Yeah, first I want to speak on the streamer university. Like that was just so legendary. I love Kai Cenat. I'm not even like big into the streamer world, but anything that he's doing, I'm paying attention because he's so iconic to this generation, what the creator economy is. But I also love that he knows his value. Just the fact that he turned down so many, streaming deals just because he knew his value. He knew he could do, millions of streams. And I think I can't even remember what they said, like three. I can't even. I'm not even gonna misquote
Yeah,
it, but
yeah.
he just did his thing with the streamer university in terms of just viewership and engagement. He didn't need a Netflix. He didn't need an Amazon Prime, and he did it on his own. But I think that just speaks to the volume of community and why that's so important. He has learned outside of just viewership the importance of a community and finding people who can in some way they want to aspire to be similar to you. They want to get to a level of a Kai Cenat. So anything that he drops, they're paying attention to, they're learning from. But if there's an opportunity to be a part of this larger collective, a streamer university where I don't even know if they were really learning. I know they have professors. I know it was like on a college campus, but regardless, it seemed like it was more so even an association thing where people's follower count just grew just simply being in attendance. And I think that's beautiful, but also just seeing how intentional Kai was with selecting smaller creators who might not be the most watched on Twitch, what have you, but they're eager, they're hustling, they're ready to learn and grow. I think that's so important. So some of the things that we're considering as we're thinking about growing our own creator community is just education. How can we continue to uplift these creators, give them access to the education that they need to be successful creators, to be, at the level that they want to be, whether they want to be on a Kai Cenat level, Jackie Aina level, whoever it is, whatever level you want to be on, how can we help prepare you to get to that point and allow you to do it amongst other people who are like-minded, who are also trying to grow? And so that's something that we're being very intentional about. How can we create these different experiences and these different opportunities for these creators to come together and not have to feel like they have to build in silos? And I think that's one of the biggest things that we've learned. A lot of creators, they're just trying to figure things out on their own when there's so many other ways to go about it amongst the community, amongst other people that you can learn from. And so I think that's the biggest thing, is just being able to provide value, whether that's education, just opportunities for them to continue to grow. But yeah, I think what Kai did was very much legendary, and that's something that we're definitely, watching and learning from as we're continuing to build our own community for creators.
I found this other quote from you where you said, it's been a long journey getting to market. I had a huge vision for Forefront that involved tech, but I had no tech experience. And can you talk a little bit about being a non-technical founder and how you've navigated building a technology without being able to do it, yourself?
Yeah. I think it's all about finding the right people, regardless if it's a tech company or not. Being a solo founder, just being a founder or CEO, you realize, okay, I have to play into my own strengths and find people who can operate in some of those things that I consider weaknesses. And so the first person that we brought onto the team was Alton, who's our head of product. And that was game changing for me and for Forefront in general, because it allowed me to be able to focus on what I do best, which is being the visionary, which is kind of helping to bring the company about, where we can bring Alton on, who has the expertise of building product and technology and helping us to bring that forward. And he and I, we can collaborate on brainstorm different ideas, and he can go out and execute that. So that's been game changing, just realizing, all right, kind of getting out of the mindset of just, I want to be an entrepreneur, to I want to be a founder and CEO, and making sure that I can bring this vision to life with the right people. And so that's something that I've been learning along this journey, is like, we have to bring on the right people. So on top of that, we also just hired our new partnerships coordinator, who's going to be helping us to just really facilitate better partnerships within the marketplace. So I think overall, is being a good leader in general, is just being able to take a step back of like, okay, what does your company need to be successful? Can I provide that? And if I cannot, can I bring the right person on to do the job? And so that's how we've been able to, step into this landscape of technology without my personal expertise of being a coder.
Yeah. And for a creator, I should say, what are the steps to joining Forefront if it's that kind of process?
Yeah, so for creators and brands, you're able to create your own account. Obviously, for brands and creators, it'll be different. But if you're a creator that's interested in, securing brand deals and want to use your influence to uplift Black-owned brands and other minority brands, you can just create your account. You let us know your interests, your hobbies, and the type of brands that you're looking to work with. And then from there, we'll be able to match you with the right brands to begin those partnerships. And so you can do that at Forefront ATL /creators and sign up there.